don't scroll. Stay right here and listen to this, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now, and what's unfolding after that quiet sense of being watched is something even deeper, something calmer but more powerful, because once the universe begins observing you, it doesn't stop at noticing your actions, it pays attention to your intentions, the thoughts you don't say out loud, the feelings you choose not to act on, the moments where you pause instead of react, and listen to. That's where real alignment is measured, not in what you post, not in what you announce, but in how you hold yourself when no one is clapping, and lately you've been holding yourself differently, with more restraint, more honesty, more self-respect, and your heart needs this right now because that internal shift is what's activating the next phase, and you may have noticed that certain temptations don't pull you the same way anymore. Certain conversations feel draining before they even begin, certain people feel out of sync with your nervous system, and don't scroll, because that's not you becoming distant, that's you becoming discerning, and discernment is a sign of spiritual maturity, the kind that prepares you for deeper love, clearer purpose, and safer connection. And listen to this, the universe monitors differently when someone is ready to stop repeating cycles, it slows things down, it creates space, it removes noise so you can hear yourself more clearly, and that's why this season may feel quieter than others, fewer distractions, fewer dramatic events, more inner dialogue, and your heart needs this right now because silence can feel uncomfortable when you're used to movement, but silence is where truth becomes audible, and the universe knows you're finally listening, and signs keep reinforcing this in subtle ways. Maybe you've been waking up at the same time every night for no clear reason. Maybe your body reacts strongly to certain environments now. Maybe you feel an urge to protect your peace even if you can't explain why, and listen to this, those are not habits, those are signals, your intuition recalibrating, tuning itself to a finer frequency, and soulmate energy responds strongly to that frequency, because soul connections don't activate through chaos, they activate through clarity, through calm recognition, through emotional safety, and somewhere, someone connected to your path is feeling that shift, not in a dramatic way, but as a steady awareness, a sense that something important is aligning, and your heart needs this right now because being sensed in that way can feel strange, almost like being noticed without being approached, but that's how aligned energy works, it observes first, it respects timing, it doesn't rush, and listen to this, the universe is doing the same thing, it's watching how you handle stillness, how you treat yourself when nothing external is demanding your attention, how you sit with uncertainty without forcing answers, and that's not a test meant to trip you up, it's a preparation meant to strengthen you, and don't scroll, because this is where the emotional revelation deepens. The reason you're being monitored is not because something is about to go wrong, it's because something is about to go right in a way that requires stability, not impulse. And the universe doesn't place meaningful connections or opportunities into shaky hands, it waits until you can hold them without squeezing too tightly or dropping them out of fear, and your heart needs this right now because you've been learning that balance, learning how to want without clinging, how to care without controlling, how to hope without obsessing, and that learning curve is what's being observed, and if you've been seeing angel numbers like 616 or 727 when you feel reflective, that's harmony and inner wisdom activating, reminders that your growth is being acknowledged, and listen to this, the monitoring phase often comes with a sense of protection, doors closing without explanation, plans falling through that later make sense, people drifting away without conflict, and at the time it can feel confusing, even disappointing, but later it reveals itself as guidance. And your heart needs this right now because trust is being rebuilt, not trust in others, but trust in the flow of your own life, and soulmate themes rise again here, because the love meant for you will not require you to be hypervigilant or anxious, it will arrive when you're calm enough to recognize it as safe, and that's why timing has felt so precise lately, almost intentional, as if life is nudging you to slow down and pay attention, and don't scroll, because this is where the tension subtly shifts, the observation phase begins to feel less like being watched and more like being held, like something unseen has your back, like even when you're unsure, you're not unsupported, and that feeling is important, because it teaches you how alignment feels in your body, steady, grounded, reassuring, not frantic or urgent, and listen to this, urgency is not a sign of destiny, calm recognition is, and your heart needs this right now because soon, very soon, the universe will stop observing and start responding, not with chaos, not with shock, but with movement. That feels natural, almost expected, like a continuation of what you've already been feeling inside, and when that happens, you won't need convincing, you won't need proof, you'll simply know, because your intuition has been trained during this quiet phase. And don't scroll, because this is the cliffhanger you're meant to sit with, the sense that something is about to shift without you needing to chase it. That clarity is approaching without you forcing it, and as this part closes, I want you to hold on to this truth. You are not being monitored because you are fragile, you are being monitored because you are capable of holding love without losing yourself, capable of choosing wisely, capable of stepping into the next chapter awake instead of reactive. And when the universe watches this closely, it's because it's about to entrust you with something meaningful. So stay grounded, stay honest with yourself, keep listening inward, because what comes next will meet you exactly where you are now, calm, aware, and ready. Don't scroll. Stay with me, listen to this carefully, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now. And what's happening in this phase goes even deeper than awareness, deeper than observation, because once the universe has watched your intentions and your restraint, once it has seen how you carry yourself in silence, it begins a quiet repositioning of your life. Subtle adjustments that most people miss because they're looking for something dramatic, but listen to this: destiny rarely announces itself loudly, it rearranges things gently until one day you look around and realize nothing is the same inside you anymore. And you may have noticed this already, the way your priorities have shifted without effort, the way certain desires faded while others became clearer, the way you no longer chase clarity from people who can't give it, and your heart needs this right now because this internal shift is not random. It's preparation, and preparation always comes before revelation, and while this is happening, the sense of being monitored begins to change texture. It no longer feels like scrutiny, it feels like containment. Like something unseen is holding the edges of your life steady so you don't rush ahead or fall backward. And listen to this: the universe does this when someone is ready to receive something that would have overwhelmed them before, and you are reaching that point now, where your nervous system is calmer, your reactions slower, your discernment sharper. And don't scroll, because this is where soulmate energy intensifies in a quiet way, not through longing or fantasy, but through recognition. Through the subtle feeling that someone out there is becoming more aware of you at the same time you're becoming more aware of yourself, and that awareness doesn't feel obsessive, it feels grounded, like a gentle pull rather than a craving. And your heart needs this right now because craving comes from lack, but recognition comes from alignment, and alignment is what's being built right now, piece by piece, choice by choice. And listen to this: the universe doesn't align people by forcing them together, it aligns them by shaping them separately until they're compatible, and that shaping process often feels lonely, quiet, introspective, because it requires you to stop outsourcing your sense of direction, and you've been doing that work. Even on days when it didn't feel productive, even when you wondered if anything was happening at all. And don't scroll, because this is where emotional revelation arrives softly, the realization that you're no longer afraid of being misunderstood the way you once were, that you don't feel the same urge to correct perceptions, to control narratives, to prove your worth. And that's not indifference, that's confidence settling into your bones, and the universe notices that kind of confidence because it's stable. It doesn't fluctuate with praise or criticism, and stability is required for what's coming next, and signs continue to show up to reinforce this. Maybe you've been seeing 111 when you're thinking about new beginnings, maybe 414 when you're choosing patience, maybe 515 when you feel a quiet urge to change something in your routine. Those numbers are not predictions, they're affirmations, telling you that your inner adjustments are in sync with a larger pattern. And listen to this: spiritual awakenings often reach a stage where the outer world feels slightly delayed compared to the inner world, like you've already changed but your circumstances haven't caught up yet. And that can feel frustrating if you don't understand it, but your heart needs this right now because that delay is intentional. It's a buffer, a space where your new way of being gets to stabilize before being tested externally, and the universe is very careful with this stage, because rushing would undo the work you've done. And don't scroll, because this is where trust is quietly rebuilt, trust in timing, trust in intuition, trust that you don't need to force movement to make progress. And you may notice that even when uncertainty appears, your body doesn't panic the way it used. 2. Your mind doesn't spiral as quickly, and that's proof that you're integrating wisdom, not just learning it, and soulmate energy responds strongly to integration, because true connection doesn't thrive on intensity alone, it thrives on emotional regulation, on the ability to stay present without collapsing or controlling. And your heart needs this right now because the version of you that's emerging can hold love without losing balance, can communicate without defensiveness, can listen without fear, and that version of you is exactly who your future connections require. And listen to this, the monitoring you sensed earlier is gradually shifting into orchestration, subtle movements behind the scenes, conversations you're not part of yet, realizations happening in other people's minds, paths crossing indirectly. And this doesn't mean you need to do anything, it means you need to stay aligned, stay honest, stay grounded, because orchestration responds best to consistency. And don't scroll, because here's the part where tension builds again. There may be moments where you feel tempted to break the stillness, to reach out prematurely, to seek reassurance from the outside, and in those moments, your intuition will speak clearly, reminding you that calm is not stagnation, that waiting is not failing. And your heart needs this right now because resisting that temptation strengthens your trust muscle. And the stronger that muscle gets, the easier the next step will feel. When it arrives, and listen to this, the universe does not observe endlessly, observation always precedes movement, and movement always comes when readiness and timing meet, and you are approaching that intersection, slowly but unmistakably, and the signs will become clearer, not louder, clearer. A sense of rightness that doesn't need explanation, a calm anticipation instead of anxious waiting. And don't scroll, because this is the cliffhanger you're meant to feel at the end of this phase, the knowing that something is aligning without you needing to control it, the awareness that your role right now is simply to stay present and true. And as this part closes, I want you to hold on to this truth: you are not being watched because you are uncertain, you are being guided because you are ready, and the universe does not guide casually. It guides with purpose, with care, with timing. So keep listening inward, keep choosing calm over reaction, because what comes next will recognize you not by who you used to be, but by who you've become, and that recognition will feel natural, grounded, and unmistakably aligned. Don't scroll. Stay with me, listen to this all the way through, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now. And what unfolds in this phase is the most misunderstood part of the entire journey, the part where nothing obvious happens on the outside but everything important is being cemented on the inside, because after observation and quiet orchestration comes stabilization. And stabilization is where the universe checks whether what you've learned can actually live inside your daily choices, your reactions, your silence, your patience. And listen to this, the reason this phase can feel long, even heavy at times, is because stability isn't built through excitement, it's built through consistency. And lately you've been choosing consistency even when it's boring, even when it's lonely, even when part of you wants a sign so loud it removes all doubt. And your heart needs this right now because this is the phase where doubt loses its grip, not because it's answered, but because it's no longer in charge. And you may have noticed that questions that once consumed you now pass through without hooking you, worries that once kept you awake now soften more quickly. And don't scroll, because that is not complacency, that is inner authority forming, and the universe recognizes inner authority immediately, because it's rare, it's the mark of someone who can be trusted with alignment. And listen to this, alignment isn't about perfection, it's about coherence, the way your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to point in the same direction, and you're arriving there now, step by step. And this is why the sense of being monitored has transformed again. It no longer feels like observation or containment, it feels like quiet approval, like something unseen nodding and saying, yes, this is it, keep going. And your heart needs this right now because approval from the universe feels different than approval from people. It doesn't inflate you, it grounds you, it doesn't rush you, it steadies you. And soulmate energy responds strongly to this steadiness, because soul-level connections don't rush toward intensity, they settle into recognition. And somewhere, whether you're aware of it or not, someone connected to your path is also stabilizing, also slowing down, also learning to listen inward instead of reacting outward. and that parallel growth is not accidental, it's synchronization. And listen to this, the universe synchronizes before it connects. Always, and that synchronization often happens during quiet seasons where both people feel like nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is aligning beneath the surface. And don't scroll, because this is where emotional revelation deepens into truth, the truth that you are no longer trying to be seen, you're learning how to be present, and presence changes everything. Presence shifts how you walk into rooms, how you speak, how you listen, how you choose, and people may respond differently to you now, even if they can't explain why. Some may feel calmer around you, others may feel uncomfortable, and both reactions are feedback, not problems, and your heart needs this right now because you're learning not to personalize feedback that isn't meant for you, to let other people's reactions belong to them, and that skill is essential for the next chapter, especially when love enters the picture, because love requires space, not control. And listen to this, the universe has been watching how you handle space, whether you fill it with anxiety or allow it to breathe, and lately you've been allowing it to breathe. You've been resisting the urge to fill silence with noise, to fill uncertainty with assumptions. And don't scroll, because that restraint is powerful. It tells the universe you trust timing more than impulse, and trust in timing is one of the clearest signals of readiness. And signs continue to show up to support you in this stabilization, but they're softer now, less dramatic, more reassuring. Maybe you notice patterns of ease, things flowing with less resistance, decisions feeling simpler, emotions settling faster. And listen to this, ease is not stagnation, ease is alignment without friction, and the universe prefers to move through ease when it can, because ease sustains, and your heart needs this right now because part of you may still equate intensity with importance, urgency with destiny, but the truth is, the most meaningful shifts often feel calm when they arrive, because they meet you at the level you've prepared yourself to hold. And soulmate energy, real soulmate energy, feels calm, not chaotic, familiar, not overwhelming, and this phase is teaching you how to recognize that calm without mistaking it for boredom. And don't scroll, because this is where the monitoring phase quietly transitions into trust. The universe begins to loosen its grip, not because it's disengaging, but because you've demonstrated self-regulation, discernment, and patience. And when trust is established, movement follows naturally, and you may begin to notice subtle forward motion now, small opportunities, gentle invitations, moments where life seems to lean toward you instead of away. And your heart needs this right now because those moments are previews, not the full reveal, glimpses of what alignment feels like in motion. And listen to this, you are being trained to notice previews without grasping, to appreciate them without demanding more, and that balance is what keeps alignment intact. And don't scroll, because here's the part that requires honesty. This phase can feel anticlimactic if you're expecting fireworks, but it is foundational, and foundations aren't exciting, they're essential. Without them, everything collapses under pressure, and the universe knows you've lived through enough collapse, enough instability, enough emotional whiplash, and it's choosing a different path for you now, one that prioritizes durability over drama. And your heart needs this right now because you are no longer built for chaos, even if chaos once felt familiar. And listen to this, familiarity is not the same as destiny. Destiny feels unfamiliar at first because it asks you to behave differently, to respond differently, to trust differently, and you've been doing that work quietly, without needing recognition. And that's why recognition is being prepared for you now in a more meaningful form. And don't scroll, because this is where the cliffhanger sharpens. There will come a moment, soon, when the stillness breaks, not abruptly, but decisively, when something shifts from internal to external, a conversation, a meeting, an opportunity, a realization that feels solid instead of speculative. And when that moment arrives, you won't feel frantic, you won't feel pressured, you'll feel ready, and readiness is how you'll know it's real. And your heart needs this right now because everything you've been feeling, the observation, the containment, the orchestration, the stabilization, has been leading here, to a point where action emerges naturally from alignment instead of fear. And as this part closes, I want you to sit with this truth, you are no longer being monitored in the way you were at the beginning, you are being trusted, and trust from the universe is not casual, it's earned, it's deliberate, it's given to those who can hold what's coming without losing themselves. So don't scroll away from this awareness, stay grounded, stay present, keep choosing calm, because the quiet strength you're embodying now is the very thing that will carry you into the next chapter, and when that chapter opens, it won't feel sudden, it will feel right.